Hi friends, welcome back. The topic that I would like to discuss today is this: can Intel regain chip making crown from TSMC? I will go through the details such as the pure play foundry versus integrated device manufacturer IDM, why foundry model is a better model, and I will talk about why the economics of semiconductor development is not favoring Intel. Appreciate an early thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let's set the context first. Intel is a massive semiconductor company with over 110,000 employees across 46 countries. The company was founded in 1968 and since then has grown to become the largest revenue giant among the semiconductor companies. TSMC, on the other hand, is the world's largest contract manufacturer of the semiconductor chips, also known as pure play foundry. This means that TSMC does not design the chip that they produce. The chips are designed by the semiconductor companies that focus in the chip design, such as AMD, Nvidia, Qualcomm, and Apple. Many of the TSMC customers are what we call fabless companies. These companies do not manufacture their own chips, but instead, they pass this job to TSMC to manufacture. This pure play foundry business model is invented by TSMC founder Morris Chang. It is a brilliant idea for a reason. I will explain why. Before TSMC was founded, all the semiconductor companies operate using the integrated model, which is the model that Intel is still using today. So the company will design and manufacture their own chip, basically doing everything in-house. This makes sense at the time, because if you only design your chip and need to count on other semiconductor companies to manufacture for you, you are basically relying on others in order to produce your own products. This is like opening a fast food restaurant next to McDonald's and you need to contract the cookings for burgers and fries to McDonald's. Do you think McDonald's will focus on fulfilling your orders or serving their own customers? Of course, each restaurant needs to have their own kitchen, right? So same for semiconductors companies. Today, AMD is a fabless company and they work with TSMC. They used to own their own fabs in the past. AMD founder Jerry Sanders once hit against the rivals and said, "Real men have fabs." Sanders meant that while many chips companies design semiconductors and outsource the manufacturing, AMD enjoy the relatively rare advantage of owning fabs. The fabless community do not agree with Sanders' view. They often quote Sanders to highlight that he was foolish for not following fabless strategy. AMD eventually spun out its manufacturing capability with the asset-light strategy that led to the creations of global foundries. Why the fabless strategy is a smarter strategy? Chip manufacturing requires a lot of expensive equipment. For example, each EUV machines that ASML built costs 120 million. So given the high cost, how can a semiconductor company save costs? Yes, it is by volume production and using the economy of scale to spread out the fixed costs. Chip plants runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They do that for one reason: cost. So even if Intel is able to catch up to TSMC in terms of the technological advancement, they were not able to compete with TSMC on cost, because TSMC can secure the contracts from many fabless companies to achieve economy of scale. Intel IDM 2.0 strategy is essentially shifting towards a model that is similar to pure play foundry, as they will also get the manufacturing contract from other customers. The difference between Intel and TSMC is that Intel will still design their own chip, and that may jeopardize the trust because Intel will still compete with their own customers. Besides that, during chip shortage, will Intel prioritize their own production over their competitors? These are the reasons that customers like Apple will always prefer TSMC. TSMC, on the other hand, built on customer trust as their core values. Let me read it out for you. At TSMC, customers come first. Their success is our success, and we value their ability to compete as we value our own. We strive to build deep and enduring relationships with our customers who trust and rely on us to be part of their success over the long term. Economics of semiconductor development. The reason Intel is not able to catch up to TSMC is not 100% due to Intel's fault. The economics of semiconductor development is not favoring Intel. Let me explain why. I think many people have heard of Moore's law. It refers to the observations made by Gordon Moore in 1965 that the number of transistors in chip doubles every 2 years. Semiconductor companies are aware of such expectation and will keep on spending on R&D to compete with each other, and even until today, Moore's law is still valid. I believe many people do not know there is a second Moore's law, also known as Rock's law, named after Arthur Rock. It says the cost of semiconductor chip fabrication plant doubles every 4 years. What this means is that the cost of fab increased exponentially. In early this year, TSMC announced that they will spend 100 billion over 3 years to grow capacity. 100 billions. That's a huge capital commitment, but there is no choice because the equipment needed for leading-edge semiconductor manufacturing is very expensive. The crucial question is how many semiconductor companies can compete with TSMC? Even if they are able to raise the capital to invest the same amount, can they actually get enough contracts to achieve a decent ROI? So over time, only 1 or 2 semiconductors companies are able to stay at the leading edge. Right now, the companies that are most advanced are Samsung and TSMC. These two companies will start producing chips based on the 3nm process node in 2022. What about Intel? Based on the roadmap that was presented by Intel in July 2021, they plan to overtake TSMC in 2025. Between now to 2025, many things could happen. Basically, Intel needs to invest huge sums of capital in their R&D to catch up. There could be delay, it is hard to predict. But one thing we know is that TSMC will invest huge sums to increase their capacity. A contract taken by TSMC means it will not be Intel's customer. So it is questionable whether Intel's investment will give them a decent ROI, especially knowing that operating a fab in US soil is more expensive than Taiwan. To sum up, I believe that TSMC will maintain the lead and it is not easy for Intel to catch up, at least for the next 5 years. 4 reasons. 1. TSMC pure play model is able to build strong customer trust. Intel, on the other hand, will constantly have a conflict of interest with their customers. 2. TSMC is leading in terms of technology and they are still investing heavily to maintain the lead. Samsung is their main competitor, not Intel for now. 3. Rock's Law is saying that capital expenditure for setting up fabs will increase exponentially. Setting up new fabs may not make sense economically, and hence only 1 to 2 semiconductors will reach the leading edge process node. Intel is doing it partly due to the political reason. These decisions may not be shareholder friendly. 4. There are tons of execution risks in this journey and hence I'm not invested in Intel. I think investing in TSMC make more sense as long as you are comfortable with the geopolitical risk between China and Taiwan. That's all I have for today. See you in the next one. Cheers!